if I have a $200 credit card, I make sure my balance is below $20 going into that next cycle. After your statement day passes, rinse and recycle. You can spend it or, do whatever you please. But identifying those 2 dates, understanding when you need to pay your credit card, understanding how much you need to carry over or not will be the saving grace for credit limit increases and growing your credit score.
Let me ask a follow-up. Is it you supposed to pay off the full balance or leave a little bit on? Because some people say you're supposed to leave a little bit on the credit card every month.
So that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that. I pay my full balance off by my due date, so I'm not charged interest. However, I do carry over 1% to 3% on my statement date.
Why?
If you report a 0% utilization, sometimes the algorithm could read that as you don't have a credit card, one, or contrary to popular belief, lenders don't like when you don't use your credit card.
So
like they want to see usage, because that doesn't, if you're not using a credit card, that doesn't really speak to your money management or financial management skills. It just shows you don't use it, right? So if you leave a small balance, it shows that you use it, but also shows that you pay it back.
I think that's a very common misconception. And I had to realize that, like, I would use the card, or even for the company, I would use the card, pay it down. On a personal level, when I did it, I watched my credit score drop because it showed that I had zero. I'm like, wait, I thought I'm doing the right thing because I have nothing, but it shows that there's zero utilization there. But let's stay on utilization. When is it a good time to now ask for a credit increase?
Ooh, my favorite. Depending on the bank, I ask for a credit limit increase every 91 to like 120 days. Like, I'm getting, on all of my credit cards, I'm getting multiple credit limit increases a year. But you have, like, so my sort of trick, or not trick, but what I advise of people is, if you have a card that can obviously grow, because you have some cards that they just won't give you capital. They won't give you an increase. They'll give you an increase, or they may not give you an increase, or it'll be like very minimal, right? So if you're dealing with, like, am I able to say companies' names?
Yeah.
If you're dealing with what's considered the top 3, which is Amex, Chase, and Citi, they're going to give you a credit limit increase. However, you have to make sure that 60 days prior to until you're asking for that increase, you are feeding the algorithm. Number one, make sure you have automated payment on, right? It could be for at least your minimum payment. Like, it doesn't have to be your full balance. Just have auto pay on, because the system loves that, right? Make sure that you have at least 2 reoccurring charges on your credit card. By the way, any subscription that people have, this is one thing that drives me crazy. If you have Netflix, Hulu, Apple Music, and a host of other subscriptions that we have, make sure those are on a credit card. Like, there's no reason why any subscription should be from a debit card, because that's a wasted opportunity to have reoccurring charges on your credit card. Having at least 2 reoccurring charges, having auto pay set up, making sure you do at least 10 transactions within that month. And also, like I said, making sure you pay on time. Do that for at least 60 days, so 2 billing cycles, and then you apply for an increase. But if you have a card and you're not using it, you're not going to get a credit limit increase, regardless of how high your credit score is. A lot of banks will not give you the increase simply because you just don't use the card enough. Because that's actually the number one reason for credit limit increase denials is low usage on the card.
So, okay. How can you avoid pitfalls with credit cards? Because obviously a lot of people fall into issues. Obviously, just don't spend too much. But, what are some ways where it's like best practices as far as using credit cards the right way?
Yes, that's a big one. And to be completely honest, like I tell people, credit card is not an extension of your money. It should replace the money, like your bank account, right? So I am a person that lives off my credit card. And when I say live off my credit card, I mean all of my daily expenses or anything that could be on a credit card, I use my credit card for, because I want the points, I want the usage and all of that. However, I make sure that I pay it back. That's the thing. Do not spend, if you don't have it in your bank account, or know you're not getting it in your bank account within the next 2 weeks, you don't have it to spend, regardless of if it's a credit card or what. The only exception is if it's like an emergency, like if you just can't help it, you have a true emergency, not shopping or anything like that, then it's really easy to manage a credit card, as long as you're not looking at it as if it's an extension of your money. It's not. You have to pay it back. And it's just like, that's where checking your financial habits will come into play. A lot of times people will improve their credit, get access to these high limit cards, and then they find themselves in the hole deep because they can't manage their money properly. They go out and spend, and not realizing like you got to pay that back. So yeah, you just got to make sure that you're not looking at your credit card limit as your money, because it's not.
Yeah, that's often a mistake that we make, and you do that at a very young age.
Yeah.
But there's an importance of having credit at a young age. Like you said, one of those factors is the credit age, right? And so if we're getting credit at 20, 23 years old, we've missed some years that we actually could have. So talk about the importance of establishing credit at a younger age, maybe talk about authorized users and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the parents out there, I recommend every parent, if you can, if you have a credit card that you know you're not going to, pay late or whatever, and with good history, I recommend to add your child at no later than 17. Now, if your child is 18, obviously you can add them, but adding your child from the ages of 16 through 17 will set them up for when they turn 18, they'll already have an established credit profile. Most people don't realize that you do not have a FICO score just because you turned 18. You have to have 6 months of credit history with at least 2 accounts before FICO will issue you a credit score, right? So as opposed to just starting at 18 and building your own credit, if you have a responsible parent that will put you on their credit card at least 6 months prior to your 18th birthday, you'll already start off, a little ahead of the pack, right? So as opposed to getting those entry-level credit cards, sometimes you can get quality offers because it's really easy to get a 700 credit score, especially if you have no collections or you haven't messed up your credit yet. It is super easy to get 700. So adding, if you have the opportunity to be an authorized user on a family member's card, and if you share an address with them, it's better because nowadays the anti-abuse laws affects trade lines, authorized users. And so if you have the same address or the same last name, you'll be more credited for those accounts, right? Or for the authorized user accounts. Once you turn 18 though, because this is the mistake a lot of parents make, they'll put their child on their credit card at like 15, 16, whatever. And then whenever they turn 18, the child will have like a 700 credit score. And as opposed to making the child or having the child apply for their own accounts, they just kind of lean on mom's card or mom's credit history and think that it's going to take them far. And that's where they run into the situation of having a high credit score, but not a lot of credit, not a worthy credit borrowing, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to make sure that when that child turns 18, like on my children, on their 18th birthday, we're going to be applying for a credit card. On their 18th birthday, because the earlier the better. Apply for a credit card. Please apply for a credit card before a student loan. That's just like a side note. That's one of the mistakes that I wish that I can catch with a lot of people. Having a credit card be your first established account, your credit age is going to be reliant on that account. The great thing about credit cards is they can be open forever. Like there is no end date to a credit card unless you choose to close the card or the bank chooses to close the card. Whereas a loan, every loan has a term date. Every loan will end eventually. So when your credit age is based on a loan, once that account closes, your credit age is going to be affected drastically, right? So if you have your first established account as a credit card, that's sort of like a safety blanket for your credit age. And so make sure at 18, apply for a card. It can be a secure card. It can be a subprime card, whatever. Apply for a credit card and then start to build your own credit history because authorized users can only take you so far and not very far now.